Real estate investing is exciting, but it can also be really intimidating, especially if you're not sure if you're buying a good deal or not. Now, when I first started investing and looking at rental properties, I would just scroll through Zillow, look at the price tags, but I would have no clue if the deal was good or if I ended up making money or losing money. Now, if this sounds like you, don't worry, you're not alone. My name is Sean and I make real estate easy. My wife and I own dozens of rental properties that give us enough cash flow so that we can travel the world and not need to worry about having a full-time job. And in today's video, I'm gonna walk through how we analyze a rental property step by step, even if you're brand new to real estate. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to spot a good deal from a bad one so you don't waste your time or money on the wrong property. So if you're like me, you're probably searching on Zillow for random properties. And again, you're not sure if these are good or not. But the first thing I want you to do is to look at some of the key factors that go into every listing. So here I looked up a random property in a market that we actually buy properties in, which is Killeen, Texas. And the factors that are most important to you are going to be the purchase price, which you see over here. You're going to want to understand the size of a property, how many bedrooms, bathrooms, and square footage. This doesn't matter so much for the actual properties, but you kind of want to make sure that you're buying a property that's in line with other properties in your area. So if the property you're looking at is super big or super small relative to the properties nearby for rentals, then that's maybe something you don't want. You want something that's just in line with a typical rental in your area. So check out these numbers. You can see on Zillow that they have some more information about them, like if they have an HOA or not, when it's built, the single family or duplex. If you scroll down, you can see that this property has parking spots. Again, that may or may not matter depending on what other rentals have or not. So for me, I prefer that the sewer system is for public sewer and public water instead of having like a well or a septic tank. They'll just cause more issues down the line. Has no HOA, which means you don't have to pay these extra fees. So okay, we have a pretty good understanding of what it is. And it looks like at one point it was worth 125 and now it's only listed at 100,000. So maybe something's interesting in this market. Again, something to look at. The next thing you want to do is go to a property analysis calculator. Now, of course, you can make this yourself. It does take a lot of time and you want to make sure your calculations are correct, or you can get my calculator with the link down below. What I typically do is I just fill in all the green spots. These are all the relevant information that we need to see if a deal is good or not. So if you go back to the other listing, you can see that the purchase price here is for $100,000. So you put that here. Down payment on this deal, I'm gonna put 20% here because that is how much I put down for most properties. I buy it with a loan, 20% down and 80% for the loan. So look at the interest rate. What I like to do is go to Wells Fargo and look at their mortgage rates here. So you can look up at wellsfargo.com/mortgage/rates. You can see here that a 30-year fixed rate is around 6.5% interest. Now again, that's assuming you're paying this much in points, and it also doesn't show if this is for a rental property or for a personal residence. For an investment property, this number might not be 6.5% anymore. This number is probably 7% and no points. So we're gonna put 7% there for now. Now to find out how much rent per month, what I do is I go back on Zillow and I leave this area. So you can see here, this is the property that's pending right now, which means that someone's actually purchased the property. And there's one nearby here for 110,000. So these guys are in contract to buy this property. So you zoom out a little bit just to find this neighborhood. And what you do is instead of going for sale, you click this button and you go for rent. Then you can see all the properties that are for rent in this neighborhood. You don't want to look for somewhere super far away, like on the other side of town, because that might be in like a nicer part of the area, or it might be near an airport. So you want to find something nearby. So you can find some properties here. Let's look at this one. This one's going for $1,700 a month. That's a lot, but it is a 4-bed, 2-bath, 1,200 square foot. This one's a 3-bed, 2-bath, but around the same size. What about this one? 1,400, 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,187 square feet. This is actually a pretty good comp. This one's a little bit smaller square footage, but also 3-bed, 2-bath. And what's the small one? 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,014 square feet. So we go back here, this property is a little bit bigger than the other ones. So I can pretty confidently say that we're gonna be between the 1,100 and maybe 1,500 price point. So let's just say it's around $1,300 a month that we can rent this property for. So total rent per month, we put in $1,300. Other revenue per month would be something like if you're charging them pet fees, or if you're charging them for a washer and dryer machine, you would add that here. For most cases, it's gonna be 0 anyway. Vacancy rate, you put between 5 and 10%. This is for when properties aren't rented out. So for example, if a tenant moves out, it takes 1 or 2 weeks to clean the property, market it, and then get someone back in there. For the annual revenue increases, operating expense increases, and appreciation, I typically put 3 to 2%. This is like how much things cost over time. So every single year, you should be increasing your rents to keep up with inflation. So on average, inflation is about 3%. So we put 3% here. Operating expenses, again, this can be 3% or 2%. I put 2% here. And the appreciation increases by about 3% a year. Again, in some markets, it can be as high as 10%, but you want to be conservative. And again, just focus on it based on inflation. Property taxes in this area are going to be around 2% of your purchase price, which means that for this property, if I buy for 100,000, then every year I'm paying paying around $2,000 in property taxes. So again, this number you'll find by going to the county website or asking a realtor what are property taxes estimated to be in this area. Now, property management fees, this again varies on your property manager. This can be between 8 to 10%. For most of my relationships, I get charged 8% for my property managers. So maintenance reserves are how much I reserve for future repairs, like if a water heater goes out, AC unit goes out. This is more of a phantom number, a phantom expense that you won't see on your bank account. Like every month, you'll get more money in your bank than this spreadsheet will show you. But down the line, 5 years, 10 years later, these numbers will come out. Like you will have to make these big payments for these big expenses, like your fence blowing down or your AC leaks, etc. I typically budget 10% for maintenance reserves, and this is money that I keep in my accounts that I don't touch because I know that bad things will happen. Now, every single year, insurance changes as well. For a property like this, I probably would pay around $1,000, but to find a true number, what you can do is go on a website like Steadily.com. Steadily is an insurance brokerage that will help you get the best policy for your area, and I use them for many of my rental properties. They have a very cool system where you put in the address and they'll shop it out for you and give you a quote almost immediately, but then they'll also call you later on and then talk to you about your actual needs and walk you through any questions you have about the policy itself, and then they'll curate the numbers and then get you a policy that's really, really affordable. So definitely check them out. I'll drop our partnership link down below. Next thing to add is advertising. So sometimes if you're marketing your own property especially, you have to advertise, whether you're paying for Facebook ads or ads to syndicate your listing on like Zillow, but most property managers will bake it into the rate or they'll charge you half a month's rent. All right, another one is utilities. So most single family homes, you as a landlord will not have to pay utilities. But if you have like a fourplex or a duplex, then you might have to pay utilities for the water and possibly electricity. It really depends on like what's normal for the property that you invest in. HOA dues, again, these are for the homeowners association dues. Most single family homes don't have HOA dues, or if they do, it's gonna be very small, like $100 or $200 a year. Whereas condos, townhouses would typically have pretty high HOA dues, sometimes in the $500 range, upwards of $1,000 a month. So when you're looking at properties, really pay attention if there are HOAs and how much the dues are. Finally, things like year built and number of units, that's more just like numbers so that you can remember this property per se. Because here on my calculator, I write the home address and description. So if I'm doing multiple properties, I can create multiple of these sheets and then always analyze new deals. And then I can compare them and find out from the 3 deals you're looking at, which is the best one to go with. So then up here, I have some key values that I use to just quickly see if a deal is good or not before going down and seeing the details. So key details are with this kind of property at this purchase price, I can rent for this much, this interest rate, etc., etc. My annual cash flow after paying for my mortgage, property tax, and all that stuff is going to be around $2,600 a month, which is actually not bad. Your cap rate is simply your net income before your mortgage, and then divide that by the purchase price. It's around 9%. It's also very good. Your cash on cash return on investment is 11.93%, which I think is fantastic. Most of the times you want a cash on cash return that's positive, maybe 5%, maybe 8%, but 11.93% seems very high. Now, since this is a single family property that costs $100,000, then your cost per unit is $100,000. And this is a fourplex, then this would be $25,000 per unit. This feature is mostly for multifamily properties. If you're buying like a 50 unit complex or a 30 unit complex, you can find out the differences between like how much you're paying per unit from this feature right here. Your monthly cash flow is going to be around $218 and your total ROI is 29.26%. Now, this seems like a fantastic deal, actually. Now you might be wondering, how come your cash on cash return on investment is much lower than your total return on investment? And I'll show you why in just a second. But overall, these numbers seem very healthy, and this is actually a deal that I would pursue if I was still looking for properties in this market. So now let me quickly break down the details of this analysis. So the first one is we have our monthly income. What I do is I break down our gross income, our total expenses, our net operating income on the monthly scale. Then what is it going to be like on year 1 as a whole? What's going to be like on year 2 after my projections of 3% increases, and also on year 3. So for the first property, we're renting for $1,300 a month. Our vacancy of 5% means we're losing $65 a month, which means that your net total is $1,235. And if we had other income, again, like charging pet fees, overcharging for the washer and dryer machine, then we add that here. But it looks like we're grossing around $1,200 a month. Then based on our property taxes of paying 2% a year, we're basically paying $166 a month on property taxes. And for my $1,000 of insurance every year, we're basically paying $83 a month. Property management of 8% means that we're paying $104 for property management, and a 10% reserve means that we're saving $130. So again, you're gonna have an additional $130 every month in your bank account, but that money is gonna be spent in the future. So don't consider it as part of your cash flow. Your total expenses after adding all these up is $484. So these are your fixed expenses that you expect to pay, but again, they don't include any random like huge things. So just keep that in mind. So overall, your projected net operating income is $751 per month. Now, based on the loan we got, which is 80% of $100,000 or an $80,000 loan at 7% interest, your mortgage is gonna be $532.24, which means that your cash flow after paying for that mortgage is $218.76. And based on your purchase price, your total ROI is almost 1%. So that's really not bad at all. Now, your total ROI is much lower here than here, and you may be wondering, hey, for the 1 year mark, how come this isn't 12 times this number? Well, again, I'll get that in a little bit. With the 1 year projection, there are more things to consider than just the monthly cash flow. As you can see here, most of these numbers are just 12 times what you had in your monthly, because that makes sense, right? 12 months is 1 year. But here are some things that we didn't consider with the monthly version that we are considering with the yearly version. Your cash flow is $218 a month, which is $2,625 for the year, or 11% of your initial down payment of $20,000. But here's the thing too, when you're owning your property and you're paying your mortgage, you're also gaining equity back, because as you're paying your mortgage, you're paying down your debt and the property is appreciating as well. So here you can see that your remaining balance has gone down from $80,000 to $79,187, which means that your equity from just paying off your mortgage for that year is $812. Also, the property's value has increased by 3%, which means that you've gained an additional $3,000 of equity. So you add in your cash flow, the amount that you actually accrued from paying down your mortgage, and the amount that you gained from the appreciation. So that means that for this 1 year, you've actually gained $6,437. And out of the $20,000 that you put in, that means that you've gained 29%. So this is actually the reason why real estate investing is a great way to increase your net worth, because you're not just getting cash flow. You're not just getting a property that appreciates by 3% a year, but it's all these things combined. The fact that you've leveraged your money, the rents cover all of your expenses and gives you cash flow, and you're paying down your debt, and the property's appreciating at higher leverage. That's why most millionaires are made from real estate investing. And as you proceed to year 2 and year 3, you can see how the projections increase your returns. So the next year, again, you're getting $2,921 because you increased your rents by just a little bit. You've paid down a little bit more mortgage because every single year you're paying your mortgage, you're paying more and more off and paying less and less in interest. So this year you're paying $871. And because you're getting 3% of last year's number, now your appreciation is $3,090. So it's again a 31.28% of your $20,000 you put in. And same thing goes for year 3. So here on the spreadsheet, I actually break down all these numbers. You can see from year 1, your gross income, your total costs, your net operating income, which is this number minus this number. The debt service is how much you're paying to the bank. This is your total mortgage. And you notice that for 30 years, it doesn't change, because your mortgage is made out so that you're paying the same amount every month for 30 years. Just in the beginning, you're paying more interest, and in the future, you're paying more principal. So you can see that over the time, you're paying more and more of your debt off. Your property value is increasing by 3% every single year, compounded. So your appreciation is also growing significantly. So that means that your total returns are this much, it's growing. Your total return on investment every single year is this much, based on the 20% down payment. Your cash flow is also increasing a lot. Your cash on cash return on investment is increasing a lot as well. So now you graph it all out. In year 1, this is how much you're getting cash flow wise, but your total is this much. And as the years go by, it just increases as you're paying off your debt and you're increasing your rents. Now the thing is, this happened to work out, but sometimes the numbers don't. And that's what I have this chart here for. This chart is for the cash on cash return on investment versus your down payment for the first year. But what does this mean exactly? This means that as I put more money in for my down payment, like I put 30% instead of 20%, then my cash on cash return on investment is actually gonna be lower, surprisingly. It's not gonna be up here like it was, like almost 12. It's probably gonna be down here like a 10.5%. But if I put even less money down, just 10%, then I'm gonna get almost an 18% return, cash on cash return. Now let's change this number. Instead of $100,000 for the property, let's say I buy this property for $130,000. Then my cash on cash return is 0.38%. A far cry from the 11% we had earlier. But if I scroll down, you can kind of see like the difference here. In this case, it looks like our mortgage is killing us. It's eating us alive, making us not have enough cash flow. So if I put in less money and I get a bigger mortgage, that's gonna amplify the problem. And now I'm gonna have a negative 7.5% return from the cash flow perspective. I'm like losing money. It's an alligator property because the mortgage is so high. So in this case, it looks like I need to put more money down. So I'll put down 30%. And once I put down 30%, the mortgage is lower and the property actually can cash flow again. So that's what this is for. It's just to kind of visualize, if you put down more money for a property, what's the break-even point for it to start cash flowing? And honestly, for most rental properties, you do want it to cash flow. Otherwise, it's gonna be very painful to hold onto the property, especially if something goes wrong and like you lose your job, the property goes vacant, then you're paying even more money on it. Now again, you are totally able to make this spreadsheet yourself, but I highly recommend that if you do, make sure you double check the numbers. But if you don't want to do all this work yourself, then you can grab my calculator, the link down below. And as a very special thank you for watching this video all to the end, I'll even give you guys 50% off the price. And now that you guys know how to analyze a rental property, there's still one more thing that you guys need to watch out for. And that is that some houses are just not worth buying as rental properties. If you guys want to find out more about that, you definitely want to check out this video where I teach you guys the exact houses that you should never buy. Thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate you, and I'll see you next time. Take care.